What's shaking, guys? My name is Luke Dancy, and welcome. It is Wednesday. It is our live hangout day. Today we are joined by Mr. Steven Brundage. Steven has a lot of stuff going on. Let's just put it that way. This is a guy that a lot of our magician friends know from Cube 3, from Murphy's Magic, and a lot of you also know him from America's Got Talent. You've seen him on the Today Show, on the Steve Harvey Show. It goes on and on and on, and he's also been all over the internet. And today he's going to be on your computer screen, and he'll be here to chat about whatever you want to know about. You know, he's got a lot to talk about. He's got a lot going on. So we want to thank Steven for his time, and also want to say hello to all my friends watching out there over on YouTube and Facebook. We'll be bringing in your live questions as well. So if you have any questions for Steven, post them in the comments section right about now, and I'll be more than happy to jump in and grab some of those questions in real time. As you know, I try to bring them up on the screen, give you guys some shout outs along the way too. So up first, I am going to run a quick trailer of Cube 3. If you guys have never seen it, where the heck have you been? This is a good one. All sorts of very crazy visual stuff you could do with a Rubik's Cube. So get ready for that. I did want to give a couple shout outs before we jump into the show. I see some of my friends over on YouTube watching right about now. I see Deb. How we doing out there? Tom Wong. Always good to see you, Tom. All right. Bronwyn. Hello, Bronwyn. Good to see you. Ryan. Hello, hello. And let's see who else is out there. Greg Williams. Always a pleasure, my friend. Alistair. Ribeiro, Andre, Magic Eddie, and a lot more people joining us as we go forward. So good to see you guys over on our YouTube channel. Of course, I want to leave out our Facebook friends. We got Facebook friends out there watching too, so let me just bring up some of those friends in just a second as well. Okay, here we go. So hello to all of our Facebook friends that are watching out there. Let's see. I see Mats joining me out there. Aaron Payne, always good to see you. Lou, how we doing, Lou? Leo, hello. Roger, how we doing out there? Rogue, good to see you, sir. Andrew Ziggy, hello, hello. Andrew says, Steven, he's dude's a monster. If I had a fraction of the power of this brain, this guy's that'd be okay. That's funny. So we'll have more friends coming in. Again, guys, if you do want to chat with Steven, you can do so now. Post those questions. We'll be joined by Steven in just a moment. But up first, I am going to show you the trailer for Cube 3. So kick back, relax for just a minute. And when I come back, Steven Brundage will be with me live. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, my friends. As you see, I am no longer here chilling in Las Vegas by myself. I'm now joined by Mr. Steven Brundage. You see Steven there on the screen. Steven, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
All right. It is good to see you here, my friend. I know you've popped on a few of these chats to say hello a few times, and I always keep saying, Steven, whatever you want, come on the show. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It is good to see you, my friend. And I know a lot of people are very excited to see you. Greg Williams over on YouTube right now is saying, hi, Steven. Big fan of yours. Our friend Flying Squirrel says Steven is awesome. A lot of people are very excited to see you here, and for good reason. You have been a very popular man, both in the magic community and also with the mainstream public. You have been blowing up, and we're very excited to have you here. So congrats, first of all the success. It's amazing to see what's happened to you pretty much over the last year or so. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a kind of a crazy journey, so I'm just kind of going along with it.
Yeah, well, that's the one cool thing, guys, that I've noticed about Steven is that while he's had all the success, I've yet to see it go to his head. So Steven's still one of the good guys, and we're happy to have him here. So, but you want to start jumping into some questions, or do you want to tell the guys some stuff about what you're up to, or what do you feel like chatting about first, Steven?
Yeah, let's go to some questions. Let them decide how they want the conversation to go, and we'll just go along for it.
All right, that is fair. Well, I definitely saw some good ones popping up on YouTube already. One of the ones that I saw that I wanted to get to first was Richard's asking, can anyone recommend a nice quiet cube resource? The ones I have used make a lot of noise. So that is a good question from Richard. Any suggestions on quiet cubes to use?
Yeah, the Shangshao Aurora is a really good cube.
Okay.
And if you just go to Google, type Shangshao, it's G-H-O-U, Shangshao Aurora. And it's just a good speed cube to use. There's a bunch of others. If you go to the cubicle.us and then ask them for recommendations, they'll recommend a bunch of cubes. I buy my cubes from there all the time. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, cool. I want to back up just a minute, though, before we really start jumping into these questions, because Cube 3 is something that you released with Murphy's Magic. A lot of people have been using it and doing it, and it was even better to see it used on national TV. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to make the jump from, here you are, a guy living, are you still in the New York area or?
Upstate New York.
Upstate
so
New
about
York,
3 hours north of the city.
Here you are as a busker, street performer, and I want to make sure you get the credit because your journey tells a lot, of you starting out doing busking, street performing, to then taking a chance. And I want to get to that point where you decided, you know what, maybe in your head you're thinking, I've got nothing to lose, or did you calculate it to go from busking to using America's Got Talent as a platform to really take you and catapult you to where you are now? Because that's a big jump,
Absolutely. I'll give you kind of the whole background story of everything.
Cool.
I started as a magician, like many kids as a kid. When I was 6 years old, I just loved magic shows. I loved reading about magic, learning it. I never was really good. But I did it for 15 years just as a hobby. So I did it at my friends' parties. I did it anytime I get a chance to do it, I would do it for friends, but I never did a paid gig. Mm-hmm. All my life, it was just for fun. And then when I was just out of college, I just finished up going to school. Someone said, "Oh, do you want to do a street festival?" So I think I was 22. So I was older. A lot of people start doing magic restaurant when they're 15, 16. I was 21, 22 when I started. And I basically just set up on the streets and I just started doing card tricks. And first day I made $30. I got better and better. I really studied the art of street performing. It's completely separate from magic. Mm-hmm. And I basically just learned how to become a good busker. From there, I started making a decent living. I could pay some rent, but I still had some tough months where I couldn't even pay for rent in wintertime because there was no busking. But I always said to myself, I would just go with the flow of it. I never said, this is my career, this is my job. I said, I'll see where it goes. Because I had some days where I'd make $300, $400 just in the streets.
Right.
And as a kid who never made any money, it was holy cow, that's 6 hours of work for $400. That's not bad.
Yeah.
The problem is it's only Friday, Saturday nights, during the summer. So it's not something that you can't sustain unless you travel somewhere else for it, So after that started going well. For 2 years, I was doing pretty decent. The third year was going really well. Then I had a viral video take off. And at that point, I started getting more work. I was doing more high-end bar mitzvahs, corporate events, for $1,000, doing well. And then with the video that took off, I got out of a speeding ticket using magic. Mm-hmm. And that kind of just changed my entire life. That happened about 2.5 years ago. And the video, if you haven't seen it, it's just me doing magic for cops. They let me go, and I posted it on YouTube, and within about a couple days, it had 1 million hits. I started getting invited on TV shows, and I figured out, I learned that TV leads to more TV.
Yep.
So basically, from Good Morning America, I did Penn and Teller Fool Us, I did the Steve Harvey Show, I did all these other TV shows, and then that kind of just led to America's Got Talent and doing that TV show. And since America's Got Talent, I filmed other international TV shows. And it's just endless cycle of stuff.
Wow. And can you describe, because a lot of people when we do these chats, they want to know how can I take what I do and first of all make money with it, but also how to kind of make yourself a career out of it. Can you tell us about what was going through your head when you go from performing on the streets or smaller shows to then jumping into being in front of TV cameras in front of millions of people on America's Got Talent? Because that's quite a jump. And I'm sure the nerves were there. How did you get through it? Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to be on TV and doing what you do in that type of environment? Because that's pretty nuts, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is like there's no secret formula. There's no instantly magical success. It's not overnight. I'll tell you that much. People sometimes say like, "Oh, you blew up," and it's like, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. And sucking at it most of it before I ever got that chance to blow up. So it's not like if you're learning magic for the first year, don't expect to pick up a deck of cards and become this famous magician. You can have those aspirations and pursue them. Why not? There's no reason not to. But know that you're going to have to put in a lot of work. You're going to have to fail a lot of times. But I'm living the dream. I'm doing what I love doing, and it's the coolest job in the world. But I did have times when I would be doing restaurant magic, and I was making like $150 to do 2 hours of card tricks, which is pretty damn good if you ask me.
Yep.
And I had this guy from New York City come up, and he's like, why don't you get a real job? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, get a real. And I was like, and he was just kind of being a jerk. And people do that all the time. Even when I was getting paid $1,000 to do strolling magic, a lady would come up and be like, well, why didn't you get a real job? I'm a nurse. I do this. I do all these 4 things. I don't think she knew I got paid $1,000, but it's still like, I'm loving what I do. You love what you do. Stay out of my business. So there isn't a secret formula. I think it's just working hard. There's a million ways to make magic, whether it's busking, selling magic, restaurants, cruise ships, college shows, corporate shows. Even before I was on TV, I started doing some corporate shows that would book me for like $1,000. And I thought that was, I was slowly gaining traction. So I'm sure even if I wasn't on TV, I would still be doing what I'm doing. Probably not at the level that I'm doing it, but to some extent, I would still be a full-time magician.
Oh, cool. All right. So that's that was always the vision, was to take this stuff and to find a way to make a living doing it.
Yeah, I mean, once I got the opportunity to busk, I just said, I'll see where it leads. Yeah. I wasn't the type person to be like, I'm awesome, I'm going to be successful, etc. I was like, what, this is something that I love doing. Let me just follow what I love doing and see where it goes.
Well, one of the things, Steven, that you and I had a chance to talk about a little bit before we decided to do this chat is also something that I know you're very passionate about. Number one is, working hard to get what you want. There's no shortcut to success. I mean, that's a given. But number two is to really let people know that what you're doing, which is living the dream, and I know that you've managed as well in your own personal life to purchase some really nice things because of you, taking your career to the next level professionally. Can you give the guys some tips and maybe some thoughts on, what, this isn't something that's impossible to do? I mean, how old are you? That's one of the questions that popped up. How old are you?
26.
So here you are, you're 26 years old, you're literally traveling the world, you've done TV appearances, you've also done some other advertising opportunities for some brands. Was it cricket? You did some stuff during the holidays? Was it cricket? Or?
Yep.
So, people that want to do that, what kind of advice do you have to let people know, what, this is not impossible, look at me, I'm doing it, and to just keep following what it is they want to do? Like, what kind of advice could you give to those guys that want to do what you do, I guess is the big question.
I think it's important to have some goals set. Like for me, I always set my goals and I always achieve them within 6 months. I set my 5 years goal and they happen a lot sooner than I expected. But even if I didn't achieve them so soon, I would still be working towards those goals. And the thing is, you don't have to be on TV to make a fantastic living as a magician. I know many magicians in different markets who are making 6 figures, very comfortable 6 figures, and they've never been on TV before. So I think one thing is finding the right market to do. I think first thing you have to do is, one, get good at what you do, whether it's strolling magic. If you want to do a stage show, the number one thing to do is just get on stage. It doesn't matter if you haven't done a stage show and you want to be a famous magician, you need to start performing at nursing homes. Because before I was on TV, I was performing at nursing homes for $300.
Right. Yep.
I did some of these gigs that you wouldn't even imagine. You just I guess they're going to pay me, so I guess I'll do it. So it's one of those things that you just have to put in the work. You have to go do as many shows as possible until you get good. And even now, I'm only comfortable with my show the last couple months, last year about. Because before, what happened was I went on national TV. And all of a sudden people are booking me for these high-end events, and I'm like, I'm used to busking. So I had to transition my busking show into a corporate show. And now they're completely different shows. My busking show, it's very quick, it's fast. You get people's attention, you get their money, they leave. Next group is 20 minutes. The corporate show, you have their attention.
Right.
You know, so it's one of those things where I had to build a brand new show, and that just comes with time and energy, and really just putting in the work, learning new tricks, finding what works for your character, and then just not giving up. Like, you're gonna have times when people say like, oh, you know, they're gonna doubt you, they're gonna say negative things to you. If you really believe you could do it, go for it.
Love it.
Though, occasionally some personalities, you'll see some people who are doing magic and they just don't quite get it. And I always see that, and sometimes brutal honesty is needed. For example, like if you don't talk to if you can't communicate and talk to someone, you have to work on that. Not saying people can't change, but you know, sometimes it's good to be very real with yourself. You know.
Yep. Absolutely. Got a couple quick questions here for you. You did mention you've done some walk around and strolling type of stuff.
Yep. And then real quick, before you get to that, one of the reasons to be real with yourself is because any person that's talking to you will not be honest to you. If you do a show, 99% of the people will find something good to say about you. Oh, you're so charming. Or they'll say like, that was wonderful. Or I like this one trick, and that's all they liked. So it's important to be really genuine and real with yourself, because most people won't be honest with you. Unless you ask for harsh criticism from a friend or a magician or something. But normally they're just going to, you know, give you fluff.
Yeah, that happens a lot, doesn't it? People feel like they can't tell the truth. Or the problem is, though, that actually does more harm than good when you just pacify someone with what they want to hear. It doesn't really help anybody at the end of the day. Yeah. Here is a couple of the questions. We got a lot of them coming in. I'm going to try to get to as many as we can here. Over on YouTube, these guys are blowing you up. One question is, hey, Steven, why didn't you teach the last trick of Penn and Teller show? I really want to know the way you did that. So I guess when you did your Penn and Teller fullest appearance, there were some things that you decided to keep, kind of the secrets keep for yourself for the most part, right?
I will be putting it out soon. It's something that it was just I don't know. It was a move that I just kept to myself.
Okay.
You know?
All right. Very good. Back over on YouTube, we've got some other questions pouring. I'm trying to keep up here. We got friends watching all over the world. There's a friend watching from Ukraine. That's really cool. Advice for restaurant magic. This one comes from Master of Light. Do you have any advice when it comes to people that either want to break into it or just the restaurant industry in general when it comes to performing? Because it is a very unique situation to be performing. You know.
Yes. Buy the books about restaurant magic. Buy the Magic Menu. There's 2 of those books. Mm-hmm. There's also like restaurant. There's one that's really good. Basically, just search restaurant magician books or whatever, and then buy those books and read them. Mm-hmm. Before I ever did restaurant magic, I read all those books. So I knew so much about it, but just read up on it. They have all the information you ever need. A big thing is just do it. Don't wait forever. If you want to do it, just find an opportunity, talk to people, try to get a job somewhere. You know, they're probably not going to pay you a ton. They'll pay you $50 to $100. Mm-hmm. It's restaurant magic will never be great money unless you own the restaurants.
Well said. No. Okay.
But yeah.
Cool. Another question. This one comes in. Amazing Productions. I'll just pull this back up on the screen here in just a sec. Asking about the specifics when it comes to Rubik's Cube magic. He says the common effect with cube magic is that the cube instantly solves itself. I know you've looked at cube magic as a prediction as well, so using a way to predict the outcome of the solve. What other possible effects are there with Rubik's Cube? So I guess in general, it's kind of like a deck of cards. There's all these different plots you can do, but with the Rubik's Cube, are there some different plots maybe that are some of your favorites that don't have to do with the instant solve or predicting the outcome or things like that? So.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you can do. Obviously, the main inherent thing is it's mixed up and then it's solved. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I mean, I have a lot of ideas that I want to do. A lot of times I don't share all my ideas just because they're my ideas. I'll give you one example of something that I do in my show that I added recently. I have this Rubik's Cube. I mix it up. I bring a little kid on stage, and then I hand the Rubik's Cube to the kid. The moment the kid touches the Rubik's Cube, the Rubik's Cube just explodes in his hand and falls everywhere. So that's kind of like a fun offbeat moment, and I have fun with that. So there's all different things you could do with it, though it's not as open as a deck of cards. Yeah. My thing is people are always like, oh, write on the Rubik's Cube and make like Sudoku thing, and I always felt it like it got away from what a Rubik's Cube is. It's mixing it and solving it, and that's something that I love doing. Before I did, like when I was doing Magic, I did it separate from Magic.
Got it.
So I do have some love for the Rubik's Cube, completely separate out of Magic.
Cool.
So I feel that takes away some of the genuineness of the cube.
Gotcha. All right. Here's a good question. This one comes in from Facebook. And again, guys, if you do have questions for us, make sure to post them in the comment section so that we can try to get to these for you. Mark Bell is saying, Steven, what do you like doing best per your job, performance, options? So I guess, what is one of your favorite things about being a performer? Because you've made it from performing just in upscale New York, or the upper part of New York, I should say, to now traveling all over the world. What are some of your favorite things about being a magician full time and being able to make a living doing just that?
I mean, I never dreamed I would be ever at this level doing it, but it's kind of just the big things about being a magician and being just your own boss in general is I think the number one thing is freedom. Freedom to do what you want. If there's a gig and you don't want to do it, you don't have to do the gig. Right now my schedule, if I wanted to, I could sleep in all day, every day, Monday through Friday. But you shouldn't do that, but it's just basically you could kind of do what you want. I had a friend's wedding come up. I had to turn down an insane gig, like the biggest paying gig I would ever made for my friend's wedding.
Wow.
So there's some sacrifices that you make in that sense. But I'm going to my friend's wedding instead. So I would say the freedom just to do what you want when you want. One thing that people don't really understand is like becoming a full-time magician. I had 1 week this past month where I had 7 shows in 7 different cities in 7 days.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
And it's a little intense because to make each show, you have to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to drive to the airport to get there in time to board the flight.
Wow.
And then you land your flight around 2, 3, 4 p.m., and then it's right to the rental car, driving straight to the gig. Sometimes I only had an hour to set up before the show.
Wow.
So you park, set up everything, do the show. After the show, you want to meet with the client. You want to talk to the people who booked you. So you go out to dinner with them. You get back to your hotel room around midnight, and you get 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep.
Wow.
Sometimes even I got back to my hotel room at 1 in the morning, and I had to leave at 2 in the morning to go drive to the airport.
Jeez, dude.
So, that type of lifestyle, some people love it. It can get exhausting. But I mean, I love it personally. I'd much rather be working and getting paid than just sitting at home. So,
yep.
So there is that part of it.
Cool.
But if you want to be a full-time magician, that's what you should expect, eventually when you get there.
No, fair enough. Yeah, it's not just all doing tricks and performing. It's a lot more than that. Yeah. Some more good stuff over on YouTube, my friend. So if you see anything as well that you want to get to, make sure to let me know as well. There was a nice comment here by Andrew Nagy. Andrew's one of our viewers. He's here pretty much every week. He says, "Hi, Steven. I remember meeting you at the Browsers Magic Bass last year. Just want to say I bought Cube 3 a while ago, and I have to say it's exquisite. You are an amazing magician." Very cool. All right.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Another friend here says, Caden says, "Hey, Steven, you're one of my favorite magicians." That's very cool. I want to make sure you get some love, too. Here is one. "Hey, Steven, have you created some new cube stuff?" This one comes from Magic Owen. Some new cube stuff, and if yes, will you release them and when? So when it comes to the new stuff you've been working on, I know you mentioned earlier, you've been kind of tiptoeing around some things, working on some stuff, keeping it to yourself. Do you have any new things that you may be releasing in the future?
So my thing with releasing Magic, I had fun doing it and I love it. But for my thing, I'm a performer. That's what I am first and foremost. You have some people who, like Marcus Eddy, Kaylin Morelli, they spend hours and hours just creating awesome ideas. I'm very much someone, I mean, if I see a cool idea, I'll pay you for it and I'll use it in my show. But it's one of those things where I just spend all my time performing. That's what I love.
Cool. All right.
There's another comment. There's The Mentalist. He's a performer.
Jerry McCambridge, yeah. He's on the Vegas Strip. Yeah.
He's the Vegas show. And that he just said that's why I decided to retire to Vegas. And it's like, that's so correct, to have your own show.
Stay right there, yeah.
One thing that I am doing, like this summertime in New York, I'm doing my own four-walling show where I rent out a room, I sell tickets, and that's kind of nice just to be in one area for a little bit.
Yeah, you don't have to hit the road. They come to you, right? That's they just come to come to you.
But for me, everyone's like, oh, go to Vegas or do your own show. And my thing is like, I don't want to go to Vegas yet. Right now, I want to travel the world, do 1,000,000 shows. Because if I went to Vegas now, I would have some small theater. If I go to Vegas, I want to do it right. I would want to do something where it's a big production. But I don't know. I mean, if I ever get to that point, I'll be ready. Right now, it's just traveling around, doing as many shows as possible. Because most people, I mean, I haven't been doing shows for very long, in the sense of like some performers have been doing stage shows for 20 years, or 10 years, or even 5 years. So they have all this experience, where for me right now, I just want to get as much experience as possible.
Sweet. All right. This is someone that had a nice comment for you over on Facebook. Ryan Wallace says, hey dude, how has all the traveling been for you? He says, by the way, all of us from Central New York say hello. So that is Ryan Wallace over on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, the traveling's, it's been great. It can be, I got sick at one point. It can be a little bit tiring. Like when you so in April, I was home 2 full days.
That's it.
Every other day, at 2 full days out of the entire, every other day I was either on a plane or doing a show. So it was a little bit, it can get intense. Like the times that I did get home, I got home, I did my laundry, I repacked my magic show, repacked my laundry, and I left. So it was literally like not much time to do anything. So, but I mean, I love it. The fact that I get to work all of April and have an amazing time. I did a show in the Caribbean,
poor
which
you.
was nice.
Poor you.
Yeah, I know. So I'm like on the beach relaxing, and I did a show, a fantastic show. It was an outdoor show, so it actually went well, which was surprising. But just those types of experience, are just fantastic, And then even with my manager now, like we're trying to figure out gigs to do. And we're trying to quote enough to get the gig, but it's like there's a gig in like San Diego. There's one like in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
And we're trying to figure out, like, we want to quote enough to make a lot of money on the show. But I mean, I wouldn't mind going to Abu Dhabi. Like if someone told me 5 years ago, hey, we'll pay you to go to Abu Dhabi, I'm like, yeah, I'll do a free trip. But now we're trying to like find that balance of working a crazy amount, but also making the right amount of money. That's my trying to figure out now what to quote is the hard part.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Just make up numbers and just throw them at people so they say yes.
That's a good problem to have, dude. All right. This is another question. This one comes from YouTube. This one's a good one. I'm curious about this too. Jam3 says, what is your favorite effect with the cube? So when it comes to all that stuff that you do, is there one thing that you just get really excited to perform, or something that's like your thing, when it comes to performing with the cube?
So when I do Rubik's Cube magic, I do a routine with it. So on stage, it's usually not one simple toss-up effect. There's an entire routine. I have pattern presentation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 10-minute routine. So it's not just me, like, it's mixed up, it's solved, because you won't get very far with that. Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest things you could do with Rubik's Cube magic is be engaging with the audience. So instead of just like, staring at the cubes, mixing it up and solving it. I did a show, and I had this kid come up after the show, and he wanted to do a trick for the entire group. And it was so interesting just watching the kid's body language, because here's basically what he did. Let me get a deck. He started off and he talked to the group. He's like, hey guys, looking at everyone. And he's like, okay, I'll show you this trick. And he went like this. Pick a card. Pick a card. Okay, put it back. I'll do some cuts for you guys. He did all his fancy little cuts.
God.
Put it back. And I applaud that kid for performing in front of the group. But one of the biggest things you do as an entertainer is to perform, to engage people. And that came from me doing it tons of times. Instead of just looking at your deck, looking at the person, talking to them, creating a relationship is huge. Yeah. And doing that on stage is even harder, because you have to try to connect with the audience. So a big thing is, instead of just doing the trick, really just performing the trick and engaging people. That being said, my favorite trick would probably be just the millions of variations of toss-up solves that I do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other good magicians out there. One of my favorites is this one right here. I'll show you guys. This is a variation on Takumichi Zusui. Henry Harris did a variation on that, and I did a variation on Henry Harris's toss-up. So it's... But it basically looks like that. So it looks pretty well mixed up. Mm-hmm. You show it in the hands, you cover for a second, and then you toss it up.
Bam. Sweet. Like butter, man. Like butter. God. I remember the first time I met you, it was at Magi Fest in Ohio. I think it was like 4 years ago. And you were walking around, and this was before you were even discovered within the Magic community, mind you. This was before you were the cube guy, I guess. And I remember you doing those solves, and it was like, it was smooth. It was like butter. But the best thing was, it wasn't just that it was fun to watch. It was how smooth you did that stuff, and you made it look so effortless. And it's great to see that you've now inspired so many different people to get out there and to start to do this stuff too, because it's really taken off. This Rubik's Cube stuff has really taken off. And I would have to definitely attribute a lot of that to you, man, because since you've done that, we've seen a lot of other projects come out. A lot of other people have worked on it. I know I did see Daryl doing some stuff with Rubik's Cubes back in the day, but I think I saw Garrett Thomas put out a little bit, and then you come on, and it's like, boom. It's like an explosion of Rubik's Cubes everywhere.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch.
No, it's. I never intended to be the Rubik's Cube guy. It's one of those things where I kind of just love magic, and I love Rubik's Cubes, and I put the two together. And people tend to like it. And I actually knew I had something when I was going around a convention. I think this might have been however long ago, maybe. And I was doing the Rubik's Cube magic, and all the people would be like, "Oh my god!" And they would bring their friends over, like, "Check this kid out," And I was like, "There might be something here."
Cool.
So I definitely had the right timing, perfect timing with the Rubik's Cube stuff, and then just going on TV doing it. Very, very lucky. There's not many opportunities to do like a new brand of magic on TV. It's pretty, but then again, you don't have to. Look at Colin's Keys. He did tricks that you can find, that you just do, or Smoothini did tricks you find in like Tarbo, when he's pulling the salt out of stuff.
Yep.
So it's like you don't have to. Everything old is new.
Well said. Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to another friend of mine. I see my buddy Nathan Arenas. Nathan's popped on. A lot of you out there, the younger guys, might recognize Nathan. He's an actor over on the Disney Channel. Nathan's also a budding magician. So it's nice to see Nathan tuning in over on our Facebook page. I want to say hello to Nathan. So he's a very cool guy there. But yeah, man, I got to say the Cube 3 stuff exploded out there. You've done it. It's really cool to hear some of your favorite stuff. That was something I wanted to ask you too, because it's like you do so many different things with it. There was actually a specific question someone asked over on YouTube, and I don't remember who it was, but they did say, the question was, what do you think of Rubicon by Gregory Wilson? I know that you've actually handled it, used it, but what are your thoughts on Rubicon by Gregory Wilson?
Yeah, I think I think all Rubik's Cube magic has its place and time for stuff. Rubicon, it's expensive. I think there's better ways to achieve the effect, but not easier ways. Mm-hmm. So I think it really depends what your needs are. I've only used it once, and I used it on TV, but it was perfect for my need at the time.
Yes. Cool. Okay. There was another good one here. Actually, this is a good one specific to the cubes that you use. I'm going to pull up our YouTube channel here to grab that. This one comes from Zaberf. I hope I pronounced that right. Hey, my old Cube 3 cube broke. Can I order just the speed cube without the trick? So I guess if people want to order cubes, whether it's specific to Cube 3 stuff they're learning or just cubes, I know you recommended some earlier, are there different cubes that people can pick up that are pretty close to the one that they get in the Cube 3 package?
So the Cube 3, the cubes we got were really good, and I've tried the same brand of cube, and sometimes they don't come out as great, but one of the good cubes is Shangsha Aurora. Mm-hmm. That's a really good cube that's similar to the Cube 3 cube. It should be the exact cube, but sometimes there's slight differences from the factory. I will have cubes on my website soon.
Cool.
I'm working on a brand new website, so that should be out very, very shortly, and I will have a shop there where we're going to be selling cubes and T-shirts and other stuff like that.
Cool. So. That's exciting. Yeah, I've seen you traveling around where you actually wear the melted cube shirt. That's pretty cool.
So that's not mine, but I'm having designer design a melted cube shirt.
Cool.
So then I can actually sell it because it'll be my design.
Sweet. This is a good question about you as a performer. This is a young guy named Aaron Payne. Aaron lives in Kentucky. He wants to know, as a performer, how did you get your name out before TV? So we do know that TV is something that definitely helps to elevate everything you're doing to the next level. But what were you doing before that to try to help get your name out, to get more gigs, to try to boost the business without having TV as a platform at that time?
Yeah, so when I first started doing magic and said, you know what, I'm going to go with the flow and try to be a full-time entertainer, I had this big problem, was because when you search Steven Brundage, this piano player from Arkansas somewhere came up first on Google. And I was like, damn it, I need to fix that. And then I would search for like, upstate New York magician, Saratoga Springs magician, and see what came up first. And I was not any of the top results. Mm-hmm. So I basically had to earn my way to the top. And one of those big things is, having the social media brands all set up, having a website. Number one thing you could do if you're like, I want to be a magician, well, make a website. You could do it for $10.
Yeah, sure.
You could do it for free even. You could do a trial, make a free website, put a picture of yourself, add a little description, say you could hire me, have your website up. Once your website is up, you want to start getting reviews. Any gigs you do, get a review and put that review on Google. Google has a place for your business. Have a review there. Like, when you search restaurants, how Google will show you the ratings of restaurants. Mm-hmm. Do that for your business. And then basically just go on Gig Salad, Gig Masters. I haven't used those in a year or two now. But when you're first starting out, you could find gigs there for $300 to $1,000. And there's a lot of them. So gigs, bid on gigs, try to just do as many shows as possible. And then slowly you'll gain traction and word of mouth, and people will book you from other events. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good to me. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is, again, it's not just, things don't just happen by themselves. And I think that's something that you and I are very big fans of. And that is, it's a very easy thing to say, but is to work hard and to try to, be out there as much as you can, but it's not going to happen by itself. Of course.
Here's a really, really big thing. Okay. Sean Farquhar mentioned this in a podcast a few years ago. Okay. And the number one thing he said was relationships. Build a relationship with your client, or build a relationship with people who, because he said that people want to book their friends.
Yep.
Like, if you have a choice, your friend is a carpenter and this other guy's a carpenter and your friend needs work, who are you going to hire 99% of the time, even if the other carpenter is a little better? Mm-hmm. You're going to hire your best friend. And I found that with so many events where this one time I did this guy's birthday party, paid $800. I mean, that's good for a birthday party. Did his son's birthday party, it was. And I just created a relationship with the guy, talked to him, I got to know him, we hung out. A couple years later, he brought me 3 corporate events.
Wow. That
paid a good amount of money each. And it was one of the things, just developing a relationship with someone and they want to hire you. So I think a big thing is just talking to people, getting out there, handing your business. Let every person that you meet know that you're a magician. You meet someone, they tell you what you do. Oh yeah, I'm a magician. Here's the card. Yep. Give it to everybody, because if you give 100 cards, even if one of those cards books you, it'll be worth it. Also, if you want to get started, Jamie D. Grant's book is fantastic. I forget the name of it.
Is it The Approach? Is that the one?
Approach, yeah. Yeah. And that's, just doing things, slowly over time will build business.
There's something no, absolutely. Yeah, it's something that happens over time for sure. There's something I'm showing on the screen right now. This is something that's pretty cool. This is from your vlog that you did. You're hanging out at Chris Kinner's house right now. You were talking about meeting people, making friends and people hiring you more that way. You had a chance to meet someone that'll be popping up here on the screen in just a moment, I believe. You had a chance to perform some of your Rubik's Cube stuff for David Copperfield when you were here in Las Vegas. We're having a quick peek now at the Chris Kinner collection of Star Wars stuff. I'm going to scoot this along. There's Matt Franco in the video. Here you are, starting to head outside. There you are now, performing for David Copperfield. How was that, man? Like, we're talking about a legend that I grew up admiring and really is one of my magic idols. Here you are he's mixing up the cube now. How was that to perform for David Copperfield of all people? I mean, good God, man.
That was pretty cool. The experience was very much, that was one of the things that I had to work for, because I know, Chris is David Copperfield's the producer, and I'm there. And I knew Chris from last year, and I became decent friends with Chris. Mm-hmm. And, I went up to Chris like, hey, Chris, I really want to perform some magic for David. And Chris is like, okay, I'll let you know what you do. And I had to tell Chris about 10 times that night. But it was one of those things that I wasn't letting go. I was very much like, I'm going to perform for David. And I was very much, that was my goal that night. So I kind of had to make it happen. It wasn't just handed to me. But it was still a pretty surreal experience doing that. And even like become friends with magicians is so, for example, I was down in Monday Night Magic, and I did a trick for this one guy, and he's like, I have some work. Do you want to come do the show? And I was like, you know what? I'll do some walk around magic. Mm-hmm. And I did the show, and then he introduced me to his clients, and I did more and more work. And I kid you not, this guy has booked me for 20 to 30 shows.
Jeez.
I mean, I probably made 30, 40, 50, I don't know how many thousands dollars just from this one contact that I just became friends with, you know? But a lot of it is like that. Like I've talked to magicians now who are like, oh, I have a tour over in this other part of the world. Do you want to come do a tour? And I don't want to do that right now because it doesn't fit in my schedule. But just meeting the right people, you create these contacts, you know, and that's how work comes along. But it's not overnight. You will not have 10 shows booked tomorrow. It comes in years and years of just meeting people slowly. You know, give it a year or two before you start really trying to rethink yourself. You know, if you're not making at least, you know, $50,000 after 3 years, then maybe do some thinking. But if you can make it, you know, I would say just really, you know, put in the effort and see where you're leading to.
Sweet.
Because like I'll give you like my first year I ever started doing magic full time on the streets and everything, and this is when I first started to really make it. I only grossed $30,000 after all your expenses.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, $30,000 is still decent. You know, it's better than working at McDonald's, but it's still like after all your expenses, it's not a ton of money. You know, but that, you know, that was the very first year. After that, I just kept on working and trying. But I think if you put in the effort, you know, it's going to lead to something.
Well said. Something else I'm going to be bringing up on the screen again in just a moment. I played it a little while ago when you were chatting. Was your performance on the Today Show? Can you tell us what that was like? I mean, here you are in another surreal situation, Steven. You're on national television, millions and millions of people watching, and you're doing stuff for the hosts there. What was that like, man? I mean, here you are in this type of environment. And can I ask as well, was it the other things that you did that got their attention, or did they find you separately, maybe through a YouTube video or something? Just, again, for exposure purposes, you know, people wanting to get in different situations to promote themselves. Kind of like what led you to appearing on something like the Today Show, you know?
So with the Today Show, I think they just saw my America's Got Talent appearance, and they asked me to come on. Though I will give you the secret about TV. I don't know if I should be giving all this away, but no, I'll do it. So this is fine. It's fine. I share this story a lot. So essentially, with TV, you have to like get in the mind of a TV producer, and when they're producing new content, they want something fresh, new, interesting. They want to connect to their viewers. You know, you could be the most awesome dude in the world, but if you're not what they want, you're not going to be on TV. And something interesting that I've done 3 separate times to go on TV is, don't do this unless and you have a lot of knowledge. You pitch something that you can actually do. So I've been in multiple situations where I was talking to a person, TV producer, like, oh, what can you do? And I would start pitching ideas, and they're like, yeah, we don't know. And then I would make up ideas to pitch that I couldn't even do. Yeah, I would just pitch the ideas. And if they liked them, you better learn that trick really quick. And that happened with the Today Show. With the Today Show, the last trick I did where Al Roker solves it behind his back, that's an effect called The Solution by, Michael Murray. And I heard about it, and what happened is so funny. I got an email from the Today Show producers, and I heard about Michael's effect the same exact day. So I contacted Michael, asked him about it. I pitched that routine to the Today Show producers, and they said yes, that I could do it. So I then had to learn how to do that trick.
Wow.
But I've done that 3 separate times where you basically make up an awesome idea. You pitch that awesome idea, and then you do it. But I only did ideas that I know were possible. So that's kind of like a fun little tidbit.
I love it. It's like, you know what? I can do this. It's going to happen. Okay, now let's find a way. Let's do this.
Yeah,
I love it.
And that's one of the things where TV, people will be like, do this idea, and then you have to find a way to do it. And then a lot of times with TV, it can be stressful. There's time constraints. They'll throw loops at you like, oh, you now have 1 minute to do your 3-minute act.
Oh, God.
Or can you fill 10 minutes? You know, so you have to have extra stuff prepared. You know, they'll be like, we just did a 4-minute segment. We loved you so much. Can we do another 10-minute segment? And you're like, you better have something prepared.
Wow.
So with TV, it's a whole different ball game. I think the important thing is just you're never going to be prepared enough. So you kind of just have to do it. What's really funny is like even for America's Got Talent, they asked me to do the show. I told one of my good friends at the time, hey, a magician friend, hey, I want to do America's Got Talent. They said to me, you're not good enough.
Oh, wow.
You don't have a show. You're not talented enough. You're not good enough to do it.
Wow.
And that was like,
All right. Okay then.
you know, and they, the thing is, they were right. I didn't have four amazing acts all rehearsed and ready to go to the finals. I didn't have my hour-long show where it needs to be, but it doesn't matter. If you're willing to put in the work, you could get there. And I had to do that. I had to get my four acts ready for America's Got Talent. I had to get my hour show better. So it's one of those things where you're never going to be good enough. But there comes a point in time where if you do get good enough or even close to that point, just go into it.
So with something like America's Got Talent, you go from performing one thing, finding out if you come back, do another thing. If you don't mind me asking this, because I've never done America's Got Talent, what's the time span? So you do your act, you find out you're getting through. How much time do you realistically have between knowing that and then having to get on stage to go to the next round? Like, is there like a week, a couple weeks, a couple days?
1 week. It varies because some of it is pre-taped, some of it is live. So sometimes you might have a month or two to work on it, but sometimes you have 1 week. You legitimately have 1 week to get that idea in place.
Wow, that's pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah, and then it sometimes it's a nightmare. This one situation I'll tell you. Behind the scenes, I did during the America's Got Talent filming. I messed up during rehearsals. I messed up a trick. Okay. So this is for the live show where you're live on stage. During practicing it, the trick messes up, and I'm like, crap. I need to figure out how to make the trick. And there was actually a flaw in my trick. If you're a magician, you know how tricks work. With a math trick, an outcome might not always be possible. So essentially, what happened was there's something that the judges could do that I couldn't do. Okay. So the trick wouldn't work, like 20% of the time. So I had to fix that before the show. And then I lost one of my props. God. Like a Rubik's Cube prop for the show. And everything is like going crazy. And I was like so stressed out. And I literally, at 2 hours before I was on stage, I had a nervous breakdown and I was crying.
Oh, man. Jeez.
Just tears of just pure stress and anxiety. And I had a toothache and all this stuff. And I was literally crying from pain. Just complete anxiety attack. I couldn't do anything. I had to compose myself. I went on stage, and that it was the scariest moment of my life by far.
Wow, that's nuts, dude. But I mean, look what you did. You fought through all that, and look at where you are now. I mean, while you didn't win the show, I think that you got just as much out of it as most people would. I've seen a lot of people that have actually won the show, and they haven't really done a whole lot with their career. I think that you got to a certain point, but that definitely wasn't the end of Steven Brundage, that's for sure. And that's one of the things I really admire about you was you took an opportunity and you didn't just run with it. You freaking blasted off with it, and your career just continues to flourish. And I think that's one of the really cool things to see is, to continue to have those stepping stones. It's like make the most of something, run with it, make the most of it, run with it. Because when you become complacent, that's when things just kind of happen, and then like, well, what's next? Well, if you're not looking at what's next, then you're always just going to be like running around in circles. So to see someone like you at 26 to have that kind of mindset, it's really damn impressive. So again,
well, I think one of the big things came was being a busker. I really studied busking, and then I met all these famous busker magicians. So you might not have heard of them, but to us buskers, they're the gods of magic. It's not Penn and Teller. It's all these other, like Jimmy talks a lot, Eric Evans, all these Cellini, he passed away, yeah. Tom Franks. You look at some of these people and you're like, those are the gods of busking. Mm-hmm. But I noticed that there's some of these performers and you hear stories of these great, amazing, skillful buskers, and they still have to work when they're 67 years old because they didn't save right, they didn't plan. And it's one of those things where I never wanted to be in that position. So with me, it's always like I'm always trying to figure out like how do I reinvent myself? How do I keep this going? What do I do to keep on progressing and not falling behind? Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I'm very conscious of. Like after America's Got Talent, I don't want this to be the peak. I'm still trying to figure out ways to continue it. Obviously, afterwards, you make more money because you do bigger shows. But how do you reach that level of publicity? Which is going to be very hard to do again because that's a giant platform. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting how I keep it going.
Well, I mean, you continue to do well, and for someone so young to have, again, I said it just a few minutes ago, that kind of mindset is really impressive because a lot of people don't realize that it's not just the skill that you have as a magician, this is all called show business for a reason. There's a business side to it, and it helps to have a good head on your shoulders too. So good stuff. Stephen, this one is a specific question about Rubik's Cube solving the real way. Someone's asking Shad Harry, how should I increase my cube solving? By which method should I practice? So I guess when it comes to solving cubes, I know there's speed solving competitions and things like that, which leads me to a question I can't wait to ask you after that. Are there techniques that you would recommend for people that legitimately want to learn how to solve cubes in a quicker way, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend CFOP, CFOP, and then just Google that. The method will come up. I think that's the best way to learn how to speed solve.
Okay.
I'll type it in here. The best website to learn how to become a good speed solver is that right there. Oh, no, I can't do it. Okay. It's Bad Mephisto. So just Google Bad Mephisto. The website will come up. He has some fantastic YouTube tutorials. You know, it teaches even better than me. I actually used some of his methods. So he had these PDFs that were really well made. So I actually asked him, like, hey, can I include your PDFs on Cube 3? So he gave me permission for that. So his technique is fantastic. Really good teacher of it. I would say he's probably the best way to learn how to get better at it.
Sweet. All right. That leads me to my own question that I'm pretty excited to ask you now, since I tiptoed and said something about the speed solving community. What do they look at you and think? Like, here's a whole community of people that do these speed competitions, and here you are as a magician / entertainer going on TV and throwing cubes in the air and they're solving. What do they think of you in that world? And second of all, have you appeared at any of their conventions or anything like that? Because you have to be a very unique person in that industry, that community of people that actually do speed solving.
I have not appeared at any of the conventions. I am friends with a lot of the big name cubers, so like Felix Zemdegs, a couple of people who own speed cube shops. I know them pretty well.
Okay.
Just because in my position, you know, like I buy Felix, I Skyped with him before and talked to him. He's the world record holder for like everything basically. All right. But like some of the speed cube shops, I bought thousands of dollars worth of cubes from them, so I built that relationship a little bit.
Got it.
But as a whole, I mean, I get a lot of love from them in the sense of, so for example, Mark Elston, he did a Rubik's Cube trick. But when he sold the DVD, the cubers didn't like him at all, because essentially what he was doing was he was just peeking through the blindfold and cheating.
Got it.
So it's one of those things where they just didn't like that. You know, they felt like it was wrong to cube, and the fact that he's lying. What's nice about my cube release is it all uses, there's no trick cubes, it's just genuine cubes with just sleight of hand with normal cubes. So I think they just appreciated the genuineness of it, because I came from that point of view where I loved cubing first. So I have a lot of respect for it. Okay. So I think that respect for the cubing community and cubing as a whole is something that they were able to sense and that they liked. So I do get a lot of love from the Rubik's Cube community. I post on Reddit all the time to our cubers. It's a subreddit for Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
And they're always very appreciative and loving. So, I have nothing but respect for the cubing community.
Okay. Yeah, because you never know. I mean, you see magicians on Magic forums, and sometimes it can be not so pretty. So I was just curious if you might have had the same stuff on the cubing forums and stuff. But
I don't think the cubing community is a lot smaller.
Okay. And
it's less competitive because no one makes money in the cubing community. It's not about the money. It's about the love for it.
Got it.
So imagine if magicians, no one made money doing magic, we'd probably all get along a lot better.
Yeah.
There was no selling magic. There was no doing shows. There'd be a lot more friendliness in the magic community,
Yep. I think that's a great way to look at that for sure. Question over on YouTube. This one comes in from Illuminati. Do you solve any other cubes other than the 3x3s? So I know there's a lot of different cubes out there now. Do you do any work with other cubes besides the traditional ones that are out there?
I can, but I suck at them, so I just don't bother.
Well, all right.
They just take too much time. I don't have the time for
it. Okay. Let's jump to another question. Again, guys, if you have some questions for Steven, we've got a few minutes left with him here before we need to wrap this up. I know he said he had about an hour. We're pushing about 5 minutes to go then with that being said. So this one is a question. What is your favorite non-Rubik's Cube trick, and what do you think of the new Rubik's Cube shell? So kind of a twofold question there. That one comes in from Zachary Golding over on our YouTube chat.
Yeah, the Henry Harris trick I think is fantastic. It's more of a utility device. So the ideas are pretty limitless with what you could do. Just be creative with it. So I think it's expensive, but I think it's good. Other tricks, I love so many. Like, people don't know, but I started doing card magic for how many years? Like, I did it for a million years before I even did Rubik's Cube magic. So I definitely have decent card chops. So I love sleight of hand with card magic. I love palming cards, pulling them out of stuff. I love doing all sorts of stuff. My thing now is more than just doing card tricks. I love just stage tricks. I love being on stage and giving a performance. That's something that I just fell in love with. It's so different than close-up magic because you have an hour of your time and then the stage is yours. You could do whatever you want. You could be creative. You could do funny things. You could do a serious trick. You could set the mood. You could change the lighting. There's so many opportunities that I really love. So it's more than just the tricks now. For me, the tricks have so little to do with it. And for me, it's all just about a stage show. It's a show that you're doing. You have 1 hour, do whatever you want. So I think it's just cool to have that freedom.
Speaking of stage shows, do you have any advice for people that want to take something like close-up magic and then they want to take that and not necessarily plug it into stage, but they want to make the jump from, okay, I've enjoyed doing close-up stuff, but now I would like to try to step into the world of stage magic. Do you have any advice for that type of mentality of, okay, you know what, I'm ready, but where do I learn? What do I do to try to get a show?
Absolutely. Learn some classics. Learn some magic tricks that maybe everyone doesn't, but they do them for a reason. You do the paper balls over the head. Maybe do a rope routine that plays bigger, and then just learn how to gauge. You don't have to be 1,000. You're not going to be in a stage for 1,000 people right away. Start with 50 people, 25 people even, and then just do it as many times as possible.
Cool. Okay. Here's a funny question we're going to bring in from YouTube. This one's has nothing to do with Rubik's Cubes. It actually has to do with Cheez-Its and Goldfish. Cameron asks, which one do you prefer, Cheez-Its or the Goldfish? What is it for Steven Brundage?
I like Goldfish.
All right.
They're more fun to eat.
Yes, I'd agree with that one too. So we're on the same page there. All right. Illuminati says, hey, Steven, I'm the kid who raced you when you were in Lewiston.
What's up, man?
So there you go.
That was one of the colleges that I did recently.
Cool. How is that? I know a lot of people, and that again is its own community, its own vibe. But like, have you kind of been plugged into the college circuit as well, or is that something you just kind of go into and then you get back out and do other shows? Because I know that's a whole different ballgame, the college.
Yeah,
circuit.
well, I only did the college circuit. Like, I only started this past November, but I went to a recent convention and I booked 27 colleges in one weekend. Wow. So now I have to go do all those shows. I like it. I mean, I have fun there. For me, it was always just, I want to just do a lot of shows, get as much experience as possible. I could just do corporate work once a month and I could live a comfortable life. But it's not about that for me. It's about always trying to progress and work harder and doing more. So I just want to do a million shows. The college market gives me that opportunity. It doesn't pay amazing, but you do a lot of shows.
Got it. Okay. That's a great answer there. This is another good question from our friends on YouTube. Simon is asking, how much time in your shows do you do card tricks versus Rubik's Cube tricks? So let's forget the card trick specifically, but like percentage-wise of your show, how much of it is Rubik's Cube and how much is it other stuff? Like, is it 50-50 or something else?
I would say when I was during my hour-long show, maybe only 15 minutes is Rubik's Cube magic. The other 45 is different stuff. Maybe there's 7 minutes of a card trick, and then the rest is all this other stuff. So it goes from like book tests to rope trick to predictions to, anything.
Okay, very good. This is a great question from Caden. I think you'll have a lot to say about this, obviously, because Caden says, hey, Steven, I'm going to be on America's Got Talent next year. Do you have any tips for the show or after the show to help with getting gigs booked for the TV gig? So we kind of talked about that, but the first part, some of the people that are out there have thought about going on America's Got Talent. Just in general, do you have any tips for people that want to go on that show? Some things to maybe help them out getting on that show.
Yeah, like a few things regarding the show. Like I think it was a wonderful experience. I recommend everyone to try to do it if you want to. It is a little bit like there's no guarantee. I had maybe 20 magicians that I knew tried out for the show last year, and I think only 2 out of that 20 actually made TV time. So even if you film it, you get a standing ovation. They say you're going to the next round. Doesn't mean they even have to air you on TV. I mean, if you do get TV time and you do air it, I would recommend just be prepared. You will, that first day you're on TV, you're going to have 20 people reach out trying to book you. So you probably want to have some sort of person there helping you out, dealing with inquiries, whether it's an agent or manager, or you hire your friend to go through emails and help you out. But that's a big thing. Your social media is going to explode. I would say get people behind you who are willing to help you out. You know, I don't do any of my own booking because I have a full-time manager now, and that's something that I had to get on board right during America's Got Talent because I couldn't handle it. It would be just too much for the contracts and paperwork and the logistical back and forth.
Got it.
So if you're going to be in the show, just be prepared. Be ready to explode.
Which is kind of cool because the next question that popped up on YouTube was, did you ever use a manager to get gigs? So it's good to know that that's part of the evolution of going from performer to, well, I guess street performing to now professional performer.
Yeah, there's agents and managers. My manager doesn't actually get work. She does not bring in any work. Basically, any work that comes in, she handles. She also helps me with the direction of my career. You know, where everything's going, push me in the right direction. Agents, I work with a million different agents. So usually every big corporate event, so let's say Twitter is having their big, you know, CEO, you know, awards, dinner, banquet, executives, you know, event once a year. Twitter doesn't hire the entertainment. They hire an event company, you know, a solution or whatever it is, just an event company to put everything together. That event company then hires out the entertainers. So usually all the big corporate work is through an entertainment agency.
Okay. Good to know. Something else good to know for you, Mr. Steven Brundage. Hello, everybody. Alex says over on Facebook, wanted to say thank you for Cube 3 as I've been wanting to learn Rubik's magic for a while, and the detailed instructions are brilliant. You're a great teacher, and I carry the cheat sheets with me when I take the Rubik's out. So that's some more love for you and Cube 3. It's good to hear that people really enjoy the instructional part as well, because let's be honest, man, that's half the battle when it comes to learning this stuff is how easy is it to actually pick up. So another good shout out to you for your Cube 3 project there.
Thank you. There's a question that I see from Bartholomew Simpson.
Okay.
What does a manager cost? What does an agent cost? There's no set rate. There's no set fee. A lot of times, you know, managers could take anywhere from 10 to 20%. Agents could take 10 to 20% per gig. Though you could hire someone as an assistant / manager / something for $10, $20, $30 an hour. It really depends on what you have a budget for. I'm sure if you put an ad out saying, hey, I'm paying $12 an hour, you probably get someone to help you out. I don't know how good they'll be. But there's no set rules to what people cost. You know, it's always going to be different. Okay.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's no magic formula to any of that, is it really? So, yeah. Let's wrap up this. We have got one last question I would love you to touch on if you have a couple more minutes here. Okay. This one over on YouTube is Andrew Nagy, and it sums up something that I've had a lot of people ask, and that's why I would love to get this one answered real quick. Andrew says, hey, Steven, I'm going to be performing for about 100 to 200 people for about 10 minutes on the 30th this month, and I just want to ask for your advice on constructing a routine for that kind of venue. So, you know, have stuff that plays bigger, but when it comes to constructing the routine, that's different from picking out the tricks. What are your advice on constructing routines for a larger size audience?
I would say just do a trick that you've done a lot of times. Try to find something that you've done a lot. Whatever it is, try to do that. Don't learn something new if you only have a little bit of time. You only have like 6 days. Basically, find the trick that plays biggest that you could do, that you do the best, and then just do that. For constructing a routine, have a good opener. You know, engage the crowd. Have a good closer. You know, and then just try to be funny.
Okay. One last thing I would like to know before we go is back to square one with you, kind of going full circle back to the early days of Steven Brundage. twofold question. Same question, just different areas. Number one, how did you get interested in magic in the very early days? Because everyone's different when it comes to their story. What was it for you that made you want to learn magic or become a magician?
I think a big thing was just I fell in love with it. I would watch a magician do a show, and I just was in awe. I would go up to the magician afterwards, and I was like, "Show me again." Mm-hmm. And the magician would just show me a card on top, mm-hmm. shuffle the deck, back on top, and I was like, "What?" My mind exploded. I'm like, "How do you do that? Teach me." He wouldn't teach me, but I bought books, and I really I started just learning it, and I saw David Blaine perform his street magic specials, cool. And I was just like, I have to learn how to do this.
Sweet. And then the other part of this, part two, is pretty much the how did you get into Rubik's Cube stuff? So we go from getting into magic to what was it that sparked your interest with Rubik's Cubes in general?
My cousin had one at my grandma's house, mm-hmm. and he solved it, and I was like, oh, that's cool, teach me. So everything in my career I owe to my cousin Jonathan.
There you go.
Because if I was doing card tricks, I probably wouldn't have been in America's Got Talent. But essentially, he just taught me how to do a Rubik's Cube, but I really took it to the extreme. I started learning how to do it faster and faster. During study hall, I would sit in study hall. Instead of doing math homework, I would just sit there and I would solve it over and over and over again. My college roommate hated me because it would just be clicking all night while he was trying to sleep.
That's funny.
So it was just something that I loved. And then when I put the two together, it kind of just worked for me.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any other hobbies outside of magic and cubing? Our buddy Illuminati was asking that. I'm interested in that too. Other things you like to do, other than catch frogs. I saw you do that yesterday on your
Yeah, I'm a huge skier. I love skiing. I go skiing all around the world because I love it so much. Cool. I'm a huge downhill skier. I love basketball. I love traveling, seeing places. I collect watches. I really love watches. I love cars as well. And I love food. I love really good restaurants.
Sweet. All right.
So I just love my biggest thing is just being happy in life. Usually I try to have a very positive outlook. Mm-hmm. I always, whatever the situation. So even before I was on TV and I was making good living, I was happy. It's really just a mindset. Like I would get home, I would make $100, but that $100 would just fill my pockets up because they're all ones. And I would just go to the bar, have a drink, and I would just try to be as happy as possible with life. Because I did go through some depression before. So I think a big thing is just having the right friends around you, staying positive, being happy. Regardless of what you have, you just have to really just appreciate it because you never know when it's gone.
It sounds like you're getting a little sick over there. But is that from all the traveling?
Probably just allergies.
Got it. I like that last part, though. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy it all. Because like you said, you just never know when it could all be gone.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest thing. Just try to, my thing, I feel like I'm doing my job as far as my life has so much purpose. The fact that, I'm doing what I love, but people also get something out of it, whether it's inspiring kids. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. To have kids come up and be like, I'm your biggest fan. I'm like, that's awesome. That is the fact that kids really appreciate me. I don't know what more I could ask for in life.
Love it, man. You're a great role model. That's for sure. I mean, you're one of the good guys.
Would you like to have children? No.
All right. There you go. That was quick. That was real quick. A real quick answer. He's like, yep, nope, done. Alex wants to know, and this will kind of give us a chance for people to keep up with you in other places too, but my buddy Alex in Scotland's asking, any plans on coming to the UK and Europe anytime soon?
I've had a couple offers. The best way to keep up with what I'm doing is follow on my social media. Mm-hmm. It's just Brundage Magic, my last name plus Magic. Mm-hmm. And I'll post any times when I have a tour, like when I set up a tour schedule. Like I posted my April tour schedule, I post stuff there. I am going to start doing larger theaters and selling tickets to the theaters, like all across the country. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's going to be next spring or when it is, but I will post all that stuff on my social media.
Cool. That was the second part was going to be online. How could people keep up with you? And you will have a new website coming soon. What's the web address for that?
I think it's just going to be StevenBrundageMagic.com.
Okay.
But most of the stuff that I do post will be on my Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is.
Okay.
I don't mind staying for a little bit longer, asking some of the people are asking a bunch of questions now. What was I invited to the Ellen show? I did talk to Ellen's producers. They never invited me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
They're
that's a
lost.
whole nother story. Um,
Ca-
Joel Green, which is a big friend of mine. Big shout out to him
Callum
for
was
being
asking about how long did it take you to master the C? I don't know how to pronounce that. C fop.
CFOP.
Yeah.
I haven't mastered it because I'm not the fastest in the world at it, but you give it a year or two before you start getting pretty good with it, or if you put more time in, you'll get better quicker. Someone asked, what about an LLC or performers insurance? Some places you perform it will require performance insurance. I don't think you really need to get it unless someone asks you for it, though it is nice to have. What about an LLC? I am an LLC. I just formed one a couple of months ago. So you don't really need one, but you can do one if you want to protect yourself from being sued. Um,
Spot any other good questions in there? I know that someone asked about your favorite pizza. I think that's okay. Favorite pizza topping? There you go.
I always get tomato broccoli ricotta.
Oh wow,
That's the way to go.
that sounds good. You got me hungry now. It's time for lunch over here. Eli says that you're one of his favorite magicians, so that's very cool. Over on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Eli.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could give some thoughts about magic in general, but I just think, like, if you want to be a full-time magician, I would say just go for it, pursue it. There's nothing, maybe you don't make it, maybe you make it, but I think the most you could ever do in life is try and see where it lands.
Here's a question for you, then, kind of based around that. You're a young guy, 26, you said. Thoughts on school versus running for your dreams and all that? Like, a lot of people ask me, do I need to go to school? Should I just go to magic? My parents want me to get an education. Like, there are a lot of young people that watch this stuff too. For those that are out there graduating right now and they're on the fence as well, someone that people look up to and it's out there doing this, what are your thoughts on trying to go to school versus just jumping into, trying to be a full-time magician?
I mean, you look at so many successful people who just didn't go to school and still made it to be billionaires.
Yeah.
It really depends. If you have a goal in mind, like you want to be a doctor, go to school and be a doctor. Mm-hmm. If you want to be an engineer, go to school and be an engineer. If you want to start your own company and be creative or do something, you don't technically need school because there's no degree for that. There's no degree for awesomeness. So if you want to be awesome and do something crazy, mind-blowing, you could just do it. The only thing that really limits yourself is yourself. Obviously, some people are put in tough situations, but there is, just that mindset of just making it work. A big thing that I also believe in is work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you have to move 100 blocks, from this area to that area, you could spend a year moving all those blocks. Or if you want to spend a month creating a device to move them for you, do it. There's no point of, killing yourself.
Fair enough.
So I'm a big believer of that. What was the question you had? I forget what the main question was. But yeah, as far as school versus following your dreams, you can do both. For me, I was going to school while I started busking, while I started to figure things out. So, you can't have that transition. Mm-hmm. If you have a job that is paying you okay, but you want to do something bigger, don't just quit your job and then just try to go for it. Save some money. Try to do it on the side. See where it's going. If you start making some progress, I'd recommend saying to yourself, I'll go with the flow of it. And trying to see where it leads to. Unless you want to be all gung-ho and just go right into it, go for it. But there is a chance you will fail.
No.
So you have to keep that in mind.
Well said. Another question that popped up a little while ago, and Callum kind of reminded me of it. Someone asked earlier about, can you tell us a little bit about your experience on Penn and Teller Fool Us? How was it being on there? It's a different kind of show. It's not just you trying to go on a show to entertain people. It's also a show where you're trying to fool the guys, and that's the whole goal of being on there. Some people use it for exposure, don't get me wrong. But can you tell us a little bit about your experience of being on the Penn and Teller Fool Us show?
Yeah, the show was so fun. Penn and Teller, they emailed me, not them, but the producers emailed me, oh, do you want to do the show? And I was like, that's my favorite show. Of course I want to do the show. And at first I was like, I'll use it for exposure. Because from being on TV before, I saw the gigs that led from it. So I was like, I'll do it from exposure. I want the exposure. Mm-hmm. Originally my mindset was like, I won't fool them, but I'll do it. I'll try to have fun. And then Garrett Thomas is like, it's called Fool Us. You better fool them. So I was like, damn straight. So I got in the mindset of I will do good magic and entertaining. Though I don't think it was that entertaining. I think I'd be a lot. If I did Fool Us now, I think it'd be a much better segment.
Wow. Okay.
Just because having more stage time, I think I'd be able to engage the camera a little better, be a little more personable. Not wear a suit either.
Okay.
But what was the big thing? Yeah, so I just tried to fool them, but I thought it was a really fun time. It's just great. Even if you don't fool them, you get to perform for two of the greatest magicians of all time. And then you get to shake their hands, talk to them, become friends with them a little bit too. So
with that said, and your performance is about to pop up here on the screen, getting on TV, performing, knowing it's recorded and will be seen by millions of people. To even the most seasoned performer, you're going to have some nerves. But a lot of people also that are young and they're just starting this stuff, they always say that how do I get over nerves? How do I get over that jittery feeling or that nervous feeling? As we watch you perform for two of the greats in our industry, can you give some tips for people on getting over nerves in general? Because that is a very popular question, and people are always kind of looking for help when it comes to that part of things.
Absolutely. Real quick, though, before we go to nerves, Philip R. said, I saw you perform in German TV show. Were you happy with it and how well you were treated? I actually haven't seen the performance yet. So
all right.
I actually don't know how. It came out a few days ago, but I haven't watched it yet. So, Philip, tell me how the performance was. I actually don't know. But back to nerves, I think a big part of the handling nerves is when you first start doing magic, you get these things called the shakes, where you start to shake. As a kid, I had that happen. And the only way to really beat that is to go through the nerves, keep on performing, and over time, you just lose them. So, I didn't have the shakes for, years. I got the first shakes. It wasn't even a TV show. It was in front of was it someone famous or something? I forget what it was, but I had the shakes for the first time in a long... Oh, it was at 4F. Okay. The Magic Convention for the close-up. So I had a little bit of shakes then, but it went away pretty quick. But I think a big thing is just you're going to be nervous, you're going to shake. I think the best way to get through it is to try to do 1 million performances before you get to the point when you're on TV. One thing that really helped me, which probably won't be able to help a lot of people, was my first ever TV appearance was Good Morning America. And I had 0 shakes, 0 nerves. So I kind of used my mindset. So every TV show I've ever done, I'm usually not nervous at all because my mindset was, I've done Good Morning America. What is this? So when I'm doing Penn and Teller, it's Good Morning America's 5 million viewers. Penn and Teller's 2 million. I got this. So I went in with that mindset, kind of attached myself, not so I could be cocky and be all awesome, but so I could have less nerves about it. So now whenever I do TV, I just have excitement. There's usually not any nerve, just because after being successful in the past, I go in with confidence. I go in knowing that it's going to work out. And it might not sometimes, but I have that mindset. No matter what I do, it's always going to work out.
Love it. Yeah, no, that's definitely
a big thing. Is just the mindset and confidence.
Oh yeah, and I mean, dear God,
I'm a big believer of fake it till you make it. Pretend you have confidence, and then eventually you will.
And I love how you carry that confidence from your first appearance over. Because yeah, you're right. You went from starting at the top. Come on, if you could do that, you could do anything, pretty much.
Right.
Iman says, I believe in what Andrew Carnegie said. He believed no matter who you are, where you come from, you can achieve anything. He came from a poor family in Scotland, became the richest man in the world. So yeah, definitely a lot of it starts up here, upstairs, your belief, and if you believe, then anything's possible at that point. So, well said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well said there, Iman. Good reminder for sure for all of this. The German appearance that you just did, speaking of TV and stuff, what was that for? Because I'm not familiar with that one, the German thing you did.
It's a TV show called It's Showtime, and it's essentially I perform on stage trying to perform for judges and win $20,000. I didn't win.
All right. Speaking of something that you liked earlier, this one comes in over on Facebook from Ellis. What is your favorite watch? He says mine is a Timex. So you did admit earlier that you are a fan of watches, a collector of watches. Do you have a favorite watch that you like?
Yes. So I have a bunch of different types. My first ever watch I got, it was just from my local jewelers. My ex-girlfriend bought it for me, and I kind of loved the watch, and I fell in love. I bought this watch. It's a GMT Master 2. and I bought it about a year and a half ago, and I wear it everywhere, and it's my baby.
Cool.
So it's one of my favorite things that I own.
And then to follow up on that, speaking of dressing up and wearing stuff, Bernadette says, "I thought you looked great in your suit." So there you go.
That's my mom.
Oh, because she also says my favorite was your performance on Penn Until Her Fullest. So okay,
Thanks, Mom.
All right, family love. You've got to love
Yeah.
that, man. That support goes a long way, though, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. Did your parents always support you? Because you did start out, doing magic in a busking situation. Did you always get that support, or have you always, or has it kind of come more as, okay, we believe you now. You've been on TV. You're a viral hit. You've done all this. Are they now giving you that, or has it always been like, what? If this is what you want to do, we got your back. That's something.
No, they were always supportive. Like when my mom bought my first book when I was 8 years old,
Yeah.
How to Do Magic, and they were always like very much like, that's awesome. Continue following it. When I started performing in the streets, they were super supportive. They just want to see me succeed.
Right.
So it definitely helps to have that behind you. So even before I was doing well, they were always a huge support, and they still are, which is nice. Like even my parents, like I when I was trying to first make it and I wanted some money to buy some camera equipment, I got like a $5,000 loan from one of my parents. My mom actually bought me my first car. She bought me the car, no interest. I just had to pay her back in full, and so I could drive to my gigs.
That's cool. Something else that's nice that I saw pop up that I want to make sure that you get to see as well, because I know you're keeping an eye more on YouTube than on Facebook. I'm trying to do both for you. Jason says, though, I like how Steven's confidence does not come across as arrogance. And I have to agree with that, man, because one thing that we tend to see in the magic industry is a lot of people get this kind of ego, this big head, but at the end of the day, we're just doing tricks. We're not like solving mysteries or, cancer or something. Like, it's nice to see someone that is young, has success, continue to be humble, but working hard to get what you've gotten is probably a lot of that, because you know what it took to get there. So you don't take it for granted. But it is nice to see that your confidence doesn't come across as arrogance. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I went through a few phases. Like I remember right after A Good Morning America and all those TV shows, I did get a little cocky, where it was almost too much, where I was like so confident, but it was a little bit negative, where it was too much. I thought I was too awesome.
Okay.
And then ever since, like when I got the America's Got Talent opportunity, after going through that viral fameness, it's very much like this. It goes up and it goes down. It's very hard to stay at the top. Even famous actors, a year after their movie, no one's really talking about them. They're still famous actors, but they're not in that spotlight like they always are. So when America's Got Talent came along, it was very much less of like, oh, I want to be famous or all this crap. And it was more just like use it as an opportunity to grow myself as a person, also grow myself as an entertainer, a business. And it was just like more just an opportunity and less of like, I'm going to be on TV type of moment.
Cool. Yeah, I love it, man. Any last questions you're seeing there? I've done my best to keep up with these, and I think that I've gotten to most of the ones on my end. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Ricks is saying, has Steven said anything about anything new he might be releasing? We did touch on that a little while ago, Daniel. Did you give us a timeline, though, Steven, on when we might see something from you?
I don't know. Maybe end of the year.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. It's not what I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. What's something that you believe about magic that many other magicians would disagree on? I don't know. I don't really have any big, giant, I don't know.
All right. So we got to, I'm looking at Facebook for those. Let me see if there's anything else popping up over here on YouTube. So I know you're also watching on YouTube. Is the cube matching effect on America's Got Talent on Cube FX? And that's another project that I know that you gave a quote on, Carl Hine, James George, Cube FX. Is the matching effect on that particular project, though?
Yeah, I mean, one of the matching tricks that I did is on Cube FX. So I mean, Cube FX is awesome, fantastic. I would get that. There's also Rubik's Nightmare by Henry Harris. There's also the Cube by Takemitsu Utsui, which is fantastic. There's lots of other really good products out there that if you're interested in cube magic, I recommend you save up and buy those because they are quality.
Philip says your one-handed blind solve was really impressive, but it wasn't a real magic trick, right?
Oh, I actually solved it blindfolded. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite type of card magic? Style, people, influences, anything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, the big influence, like David, I love originality. So like David Williamson,
Oh
Danny
yeah.
D'Ortiz, Juan Tamarez. I love watching people who are just unique in their own way.
Hmm.
Like Leonard Green was a huge one growing up as a kid. Um,
Sweet. Yeah, those are all great names. All great names. Cool. All right, my friend. Well, unless you see anything else, I think we're going to wrap this up. We're almost hitting the hour and a half mark. And I know that we've gone over about 30 minutes. I appreciate the extra time. I did want to say that. So I know that you have a lot going on. You did mention a little while ago something that you also mentioned to me before. You do have some shows coming up in your area. Can you give us a little more information if people want to come see you live if they're in the general vicinity of where you are?
yeah, I'm going to start promoting the show heavily in like 7 or 8 days, but it's SaratogaMagic.com. The tickets aren't live yet, but essentially in Saratoga Springs, it's a small town upstate New York, very touristy. I'm renting out a room at the Hilton and I'm selling tickets. So if you want to come, it's going to be like an hour and a half long show, and I'm going to do a meet and greet afterwards where I meet every single person that comes. So a lot of times I'm in line for an hour or an hour and a half, longer than the show sometimes.
Cool.
So that's coming up this summer, July and August. Look for it, but I'll post it on my social media. So if you want to find out more about that, just stay in tune with my social media, and I will be posting about that.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, you're very active on your stuff. And that's the other cool thing, guys. Make sure you do keep up with Steven. He posts a lot of times when he's on the road. He's showing some magic effects that he's doing. So you might see some. I think yesterday I watched you. You were just doing some Rubik's Cube solved. You were just getting back to the basics again. So you just never know what you're going to find. But always something interesting to see. And it's great for you to take people along the ride to see where you are and what you're doing, too. So very entertaining stuff. So you guys should check them out. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, well, thank you again, Luke, for having me. I had a fun time. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed it. So, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good feedback, and this has been a long time coming, Steven. So thank you for the time and for catching up with us. And if there's anything else we could do for you further down the road, let us know. You're always welcome here.
Awesome.
Hope you know that.
Thank you, Luke.
All right, cool deal, guys. Well, there you go. My chat with, well, our chat, not my chat, our chat with Mr. Steven Brundage. That wraps things up. I want to give a big shout out to Steven for sharing his time with us. We had a lot of good questions. Tried to get to as many as we could. I know you guys are excited to have him here, and so were we. So awesome to have him here. And for you guys to join us too. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new to the show, we do these shows each and every Wednesday, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Sometimes it's just all about you guys answering your questions. Sometimes it's about bringing guests on. You just never know what you're going to find. But we always try to bring you something fun and fresh. I also want to remind you that if you are watching us over on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel here. That way, every time we do go live, you get notified. The same thing goes over on Facebook. Make sure to click that notification button, turn the notifications on. Again, every time we go live, you guys do get notified. If you want to send some of your magic clips our way, guys, here's an email address to you, social@murphysmagic.com. That's a good place if you want to have your video clips featured right here on the show. Okay. Also, I want to remind you, one of the things we did talk about a few different times was this effect right here, Cube 3 popping up on the screen. This is available from your favorite magic dealer if you want to pick it up. If you want to learn some of the crazy visual stuff you see Steven do on TV, you saw him do a couple quick things on the show here too. That is Cube 3. And we are very proud to have produced that for the magic community. And we're very proud to work with Steven and to bring you more and more guests like Steven here on the show. It's kind of our way to keep the magic community connected. You know, there's guys out there doing so many different things that it's nice to have them join us here from time to time as well. So stay tuned. We've got more and more guests coming for you, more and more giveaways. I've got some giveaway winners to announce. I'll announce them over on our Facebook and YouTube channel for Triple C. That giveaway, those winners will be announced in just a little bit. So that's it for me this week. Thank you guys for joining us. And a very special thank you once more to Steven Brundage for joining us here on the show. All right. That is it for me, guys. I will catch you next time. In the meantime, don't miss out on all of the latest things we're posting over on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Updates, guest, who's coming. That's where we post all those things. I know people are asking about who are the next guests. We do post updates on who they are, so make sure you keep an eye there. All right. That is it. You guys, I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks to all of you, and thank you, Steven. All right, see you.